So just in the last two epochs, so the last few weeks, we've basically seen, almost like a tenfold increase in what we normally see in terms of the growth of holders. So we've seen 2,500 new veAERO holders, which typically would take, 5 to 10 epochs to get. We've gotten them in 2 epochs. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Wagmi TV. What a week in crypto! It's been quite a big pump. And one of our favorite projects that has seen the benefit of that is, of course, AERO. And so we're going to dive into some of the kind of bullish behind the scenes statistics that we're seeing and data points that we're seeing, as well as just diving into the charts and kind of giving you guys the update from where we came from and the lows and how we got to here and then where we could potentially be going. So I think we're actually going to start with the charts. As a quick reminder, this is not financial advice. Entertainment purposes only. We just love bringing you guys the most updated news, but remember, do your own research, not financial advice. But with that said, Mod, I think we're gonna kick it over to you for some charts.
Yeah, absolutely. Pretty wild chart. So y'all who have been following us will be very familiar kind of with this purple zone, right? This is kind of what we deemed as our accumulation zone. We actually broke down from that, which was a little bit sad to see for sure, right? We saw some pretty heavy breakdown, not just in AERO, but in crypto in general. We did see it actually come back here, test this at this prior support as resistance. We saw it get rejected, which again, not super bullish for us. But over the last couple of days and really over the weekend, we saw this thing pump right through that. And you can see it actually came right up against the top level of resistance from this zone. So really, really interesting that it's really working within this area. At this point, we can start to kind of think of this as potentially some deviation, right? So it broke down from here, but it seems like it maybe didn't confirm this as a true breakdown, as it kind of just popped right back into this zone. Again, it's all going to depend really on how Bitcoin does, but we just closed the day pretty much right at the top of this, right around 88 cents, and we're trying to get above it. So it'll be really interesting to see how not just this does, but how Bitcoin does here moving forward. The next level will probably be somewhere around here, right? This is going to be our kind of area of resistance that's a little bit larger. So it could happen anywhere in this area if we do get a breakout here. That said, with us kind of just busting through this resistance that we tested previously, I would assume we get a little bit of a pullback here at least. I know, for example, like on the 4-hour chart, which we've looked at it a couple times, if we actually dive into the RSI, which kind of tells us if it's oversold or overbought, you can see it's pretty overbought at this point. And you can also see that we do have some bearish divergences here that are forming. So it'll be interesting to see exactly what happens here. I would assume we get a similar pullback to kind of what happened here, right? Something fairly similar to this, kind of reset a little bit, reset some of those indicators, and then maybe make that way higher. Of course, all dependent on Bitcoin at the end of the day, but really, really cool to see, especially for those who have been accumulating in this zone. And then people who were super bullish, right, and really felt like this project was doing well. Those who accumulated down here, I mean, props to you all. That's a crazy move. I think it's been since the lows. I mean, we're looking at 120% so far, which is pretty incredible over, a 2-week period, 14 days. So that's all I got from the charts.
Love it. As always, crushing the charts, and I think that's a great background from how we got here and where we're headed. So I think really quickly we're gonna dive more into the platform side and just look at a few data points and kind of discuss that. I think the first piece we want to chat about just really, really briefly is this kind of abnormal uptick in veAERO holders. So just in the last two epochs, so the last few weeks, we've basically seen, almost like a tenfold increase in what we normally see in terms of the growth of holders. So if you can see here, the typical epoch is, 200 or 300 holders in terms of growth. But just in the last two epochs, we've seen a jump of 1,000 holders and then actually a jump of 1,500 holders. So you've seen 2,500 new veAERO holders, which typically would take, 5 to 10 epochs to get. We've gotten them in 2 epochs. So obviously that means more people locking the token, means more people getting involved in a lot of the projects that are on veAERO. But just wanted to put this up for discussion and kind of see what you guys thought about it.
And kind of funny how that huge burst of holders comes along with the huge burst that we saw over the 2 weeks just in price action as well. Would love to kind of understand how that applies to the TVL side of things, right? When we're thinking about DeFi as well. But really cool to see those kind of in line with some of the pricing and seeing that even though price dropped over time, we're still seeing holders come out and make that play. So we love to see that.
100%. I think one of the things that I was going to say the exact same thing, Mata, how it coincides perfectly. And we always talk about the value of the ecosystem coming from the number of projects that are being involved in the ecosystem. And that directly correlates with the number of veAERO holders. Now, usually these veAERO holders, some of them are maybe buying small amounts, but a lot of them are projects, full projects that want to host their liquidity on Aerodrome. And so I really think it's no coincidence that, you saw that bottoming of the chart coincide with more veAERO getting locked. It's likely that one or multiple larger entities came in and kind of bought the dip there and caused that bottom in a way, and then immediately went and just locked the arrow, right? So yeah, that's kind of my main takeaway from it. Like more projects getting involved, more folks hosting liquidity on Aerodrome. One chart that stands out to me is like the strength of the base ecosystem is really something to bring some attention to, I think, right? No matter what Bitcoin has done over like the last call it few months, how we've been kind of ranging, you would expect, especially, maybe looking at the price of AERO or price of some of the projects on base, you'd expect like there would be a lot of outflows of funds from base itself. But actually the opposite. You can see base is held super strong around that 2 billion TVL level. And we bottomed really quickly here a couple of weeks ago. And now we're pretty much at all-time highs when it comes to TVL. So just want to kind of flag that. Obviously, the strength in the base ecosystem translating to the strength in AERO is a big thing to watch for.
And do you mind scrolling down on that, Zoe? Because something we covered last episode was really that month-over-month change we saw in those top three projects, Aerodrome, Uniswap, Moonwell. In that 1 month change last week, those numbers were up in the 20s, maybe 30%. And we've already seen quite a reversal in those percentages. And so just in 1 week, we've seen a huge change in the base ecosystem. And like you're saying, like, yeah, those outflows weren't consistent. It's continuing to go from strength to strength. So very cool to see, I guess, from an Aerodrome perspective, that base is doing super well.
Yep.
Yeah, and then one other thing I wanted to show just around the veAERO lockers was there's a program that I think we're going to cover either next week or the week after called Flight School. And essentially what's happening within Aerodrome Finance is they put away 10% of the AERO token initially in the tokenomics to give back for potential programs down the road to reward veAERO voters or lockers. And that's also another reason why we're seeing so many people become veAERO lockers is there's incentive programs kind of coming in at the right time that are boosting these statistics as well. So yeah, I think this Flight School is a very interesting program that they have where essentially all the lockers get the swap fees, but now they've got incentives on top of those swap fees. And so something we want to cover in the future as well. But I just wanted to bring some attention to that as if you guys want to do some extra due diligence in the back end, check out Flight School and see what that's all about. But yeah, hopping over into the comparison between Aerodrome and Uniswap, this is really a graph that is showing the difference between the efficiency or the usage of the Slipstream upgrade, which is a Uniswap v3 clone, and Uniswap v3 itself. And so, yeah, towards the end of April all the way till now, we're seeing a huge increase in the daily volume of Aerodrome, and Aerodrome's in this white, Uniswap's in this gray. And we're starting to really see it become the leader within Base for concentrated liquidity. And I think another thing I saw from Alexander, who was the who is the founder of Aerodrome and veLodrome, he said that on base, Aerodrome has by far more wrapped ETH volume than Uniswap v3 does. And so, we've talked about it so many times over our Aerodrome episodes, but like we've said in the past, Aerodrome is that chief liquidity hub for base, and we're seeing it in the statistics here. So yeah, I'd be interested to hear you guys' thoughts, but yeah, just wanted to talk about how, I guess, popular and efficient Aerodrome is becoming more and more every week that we cover it.
Yeah, I think I couldn't have said it better myself. I mean, it seems like everything about Aerodrome is kind of going as planned, and if we get another kind of run up here, we obviously had a strong move today in Bitcoin. If we continue that, go to all-time highs, and we get another base season on top of that, you can just see the yields on Aerodrome going through the roof, the volumes going through the roof, because they've set themselves up for that. So yeah, it's great to see. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think just from a stablecoin perspective, we've seen the yields increase drastically just in the last week. I think in some of the stablecoin yields that I've looked at, we've seen them in the maybe top teens last week over the last couple weeks. And now they're moving into the 20s, mid 20s, even high 20s. And so, yeah, with this BTC pump and dragging AERO with it, it's absolutely helped out liquidity providers on the platform.
Yeah, and I think the comparison with Uniswap is just always such a good validation of how successful it's been. Because, I mean, people can choose whatever protocol or DEX they want to use to swap currencies. So if more and more choose to use Aerodrome and Base over, Uniswap, obviously there's something to that. And so I think constantly comparing it to Uniswap is great because it's been the leader for, I don't know, 5-7 years, right? So yeah, I think that's super interesting. That was a great comparison. Well, I think that does it for us this week. Hopefully that was helpful, insightful. We cover the charts, back-end data points on the platform. Clearly things are looking up right now for Aerodrome. The platform looks healthy. Charts look good. We're going to keep, giving you guys updates on how everything's going, get you guys the latest. And if you guys found this interesting, helpful, like, comment, subscribe. We always love hearing from you guys. Any suggestions for videos or what you guys want to see, love that in the comments as well. But until next week, Wagmi.